Hey everyone, I'm Spider-Man 1991, and just like last week, this comic review is in two parts. There's one part, which you're watching, is dealing with the Marvel comics I got. The other part deals with the Dark Horse and DC comics that I bought, and I should have a link to, and one of those should be uploaded first. There should be an annotation link to one of these to the next part somewhere in the video, probably at the end. But until then, please enjoy my reviews of the Marvel comics that I bought. Okay, let's get started with All New X Factor number 10. Basically, Alright, picking up with what happened last issue, X Factor is now sent by Serval Industries to go track down the girl Georgia, who's taken by her supervillain father, Memento Mori. And so X Factor basically gets to test out Serval Industries' newest invention, a matter transporter. And so they're teleported to Memento Mori's base, which is actually a resort mall that I guess he runs, as well as being a supervillain. And so they're able to get in there, find the girl, and they're about to leave, but suddenly during the mission, Harrison Snow, the X Factor's boss and CEO of Serval, finds out that Gambit slept with his wife, which if you read last issue, you know about. So anyways, when it's time to get ready to teleport the team back, Harrison Snow basically has the entire team and Georgia teleported back, except for Gambit, who is left stranded, and the issue ends with him getting beat up and then captured by Mori's henchmen. Okay, I gotta admit, the best moment of this issue was just Gambit's reaction when he realizes he's been left behind, and then we just kind of like, wait, did Gambit miss the spot? Or, oh wait, no, he slept with his wife. That's why. That's why. I mean, this book is really fun. I would definitely recommend it to people who are more casual readers of superhero comics, because X Factor, at times it doesn't really feel like a superhero comic. It just feels more about a comic about people who happen to have superpowers. If you understand my saying, like there's pretty much like there's some very humorous moments in Peter David's writing, and just the moment with Gambit at the end was very hilarious. And Gambit, they often, and also since in this X Factor series, I often do find that Gambit is a little bit more of it seems to be Peter David's central character in this series. So if you're I think we are definitely going to be seeing a lot more Gambit in this X Factor series. So if you are missing a Gambit ongoing, well, you should definitely check out X Factor, because it's really great, and I feel like Peter David is definitely going to be doing something with Gambit probably soon. So who knows how that's going to work out. Overall, X Factor, All New X Factor, it's definitely a buy. Next up, we have Captain America number 22. Picking up from last issue, Captain Steve Rogers is now an old man after he had all the super soldier serum drained from his body. And so now he's basically sort of recovering in Avengers Mansion, when suddenly Zola invades New York City with his mutate army from Dimension Z. All the whole time while also Zola is talking to Red Skull. And Steve Rogers, and basically when the city is under attack, this armored figure that came with the army, who I'm guessing is maybe Zola's lieutenant or something, immediately breaks away from the army and makes his way towards Avengers Mansion, where Steve Rogers currently is, and also Iron Man, Hulk, and Thor, who agree to go out and deal with the battle while Steve stays in the mansion. Okay. Basically, the conversation that Zola has with the Red Skull in this issue sounds like a lead into the Axis event that's going to be out this fall. That's also going to be written by Rick Remender, and also the armored figure that came with Zola's army that immediately takes off to Avengers Mansion. I get the feeling that he could be Steve Rogers' adopted son, Ian from the Dimension Z story arc, because we haven't seen Ian in a while, and the closing page to that story arc, and when Ian was supposedly dead and Cap got back to regular New York City, the last page of that story arc, that was kind of an epilogue, showed an older, now adult Ian pretty much fighting Zola's mutates in Dimension Z, taking on the name Nomad, I believe. And so basically, I think this armored figure that we see is probably Ian Rogers, and he's obviously gonna meet Steve again. And also, I believe he was created through Zola's technology and Steve's blood, which did have the super soldier serum. So that could be could be a way of bringing back the super soldier Steve Rogers, or at least that was my theory until this morning when we got more revelations about Captain America the series, and that apparently this fall we're going to get a new Captain America, and and also Steve Rogers is going to be more in an advisory capacity. So obviously Steve Rogers isn't going to become Captain America again in the near future. Unfortunate. But hey, if it's Ian, we don't know who the new Captain America is. Some people are saying it's Falcon because of the cover for Avengers, which takes place in the future. But others are saying, but my theory is that it could be Steve's adopted son Ian. I mean, it is highly possible. And also, like I said, if you're planning on getting Rick Remender's Axis event, which will be in the fall, I think you should definitely start reading some of the books that Remender is currently writing, such as Captain America, Uncanny Avengers. I think he's going to be laying a lot of groundwork for that event in his current series. So, Captain America number 22, it's interesting, but it's mostly just kind of setting up what's going next. So I would say buy it if you're gonna stick around for this story arc. Otherwise, you can just skip it or wait for the trade. Next up, Daredevil 0.1. This issue just basically is just basically a story that takes place about Matt Murdock, Daredevil, on his way to San Francisco after he leaves New York City, and basically he finds himself up against a super adaptoid and the Mad Thinker. It's basically a print version of the Daredevil of the Infinite comic that was available digitally from Marvel, known as the Road Warrior series. The printed version is about $5, but you get all 4 chapters in this. The Infinite comic each chapter is $3 online. So if you want to get the entire series digitally, it's $12, but it's only $5 if you want to get it in print. And to be honest, this story isn't necessary to reading the current Daredevil series. So if you want an extra Daredevil series that's not really necessary to be reading for the current Daredevil series, I would say pick it up. Otherwise, but if you're someone who is thinking about getting Daredevil and wants to try something that Mark Waid has written with Daredevil before, I would say borrow this copy from a friend who has it. But overall, you really don't need to read this to get the current Daredevil series, or the previous one for that matter. And it doesn't really go into that much that happened in between the last Daredevil volume and this one, because it doesn't really address the one thing that we want to know about, which is Foggy Nelson's death, which we're going to be getting into in the current Daredevil series. But overall, honestly, Daredevil Road Warrior, probably just borrow it from a friend. Okay, next up, one of the new series that came out that I was very excited for, and now that I've read it, I can not wait to read the rest of the issues. Legendary Star-Lord number 1. All right, basically Peter Quill is at an orphanage to get some sort of secret rare Spartax gem that's worth a lot of money. Unfortunately, though, his plan is botched by the Badoon, who then take him prisoner. And so while Peter's on the ship, he has a holographic conversation with Kitty Pryde. Then he's able to use that to distract the guards, get his gun and his loot back, get his gun and the gem back, and then he blows up the spaceship before leaving. Then he returns to the orphanage with a bag full of money, telling them that the reason he came to get the gem was so he knew that as long as the gem stayed at the orphanage would be a target. He didn't want that, so he went and sold the gem, and he decided to give the money back to the orphanage. However, after he leaves and we see him on a spaceship, we see that Peter still has the gem and he just gave the orphanage his stash of emergency cash. And of course, Peter is saying to himself that it's going to be 12 days until he has to face Thanos again. And then suddenly he's attacked by a Spartax ship, which is led by Captain Victoria, who basically declares herself the daughter of Jay's son, Peter's dad, which means, and Peter's reaction definitely sums this up, I have a sister. That is his reaction. Okay. Alright. Legendary Star-Lord. This series was great. It basically sums up, I feel like we get a lot, basically sums up Star-Lord's character in just one issue. Basically, if you're casually reading Guardians of the Galaxy and you have an interest in Star-Lord, you should definitely pick up this series because it's all about him. It's very self-contained. There are no other Guardians in this book. Peter does reference some of them, but other than that, this series is very, very self-contained. It's only about Star-Lord, and also it's really great. And also, this is a great series to help address some of the characters in the movies. Definitely Star-Lord, because I know I was definitely curious about his character. But yeah, overall, I would say this is a great issue. If you're only going to be reading this, if you want to give this series a try just for the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I say do it, because trust me, one issue and I'm already hooked. The writer Sam Humphries, he's doing an amazing job on this. I like the way he wrote Star-Lord's dialogue. I really feel like that's something he'd say. So yeah, if you're a fan of characters like Han Solo or Captain Malcolm Reynolds, then you should definitely pick up Legendary Star-Lord. It's awesome, and it is definitely a buy. Alright, next up, Moon Knight number 5. Basically, this is the plot. Moon Knight has to save a captured girl, and in order to do that, he has to go through 5 floors of thugs, and that's just the entire issue. Moon Knight is just basically beating up 5 floors of in an apartment building, an abandoned building of bad guys. And he does not stop for anything. Like, he just keeps going. No matter what, he keeps going. Takes out one guy, moves along, beats him up. That's really just it. And oh yeah, he does save the girl. So yeah, so basically, this is a good series. This really is a good series. I really like what Warren Ellis is doing with this. The series is going to be, this is an ongoing series, and I think what Warren Ellis is going to be leaving after the next issue, which is unfortunate, but I think he's doing a good job sort of introducing people to Moon Knights, and pretty much, and some stories that are self-contained, which I think is good. I think that's something we might need to see more in comics nowadays. And also, they're not leading up to any big thing. He's not leading up to any big thing. It's just basically you could read any issue of Moon Knight, and right now you can probably just read any issue and just move on to the next. It's as simple as that, and I think that's great. I really like how they portrayed Moon Knight as a very focused character who is just focused on his goal, who, when he puts his mind to anything, he's just going to go straight to it no matter what. So that's really impressive. And also Declan Shalvey artwork is amazing too, because everything is colored except Moon Knight. He's basic white. That's it. Well, okay, there are a few outlines just for the crescent on his mask and also his suit, details on his suit, but other than that, he's just basically this white figure just walking through a world full of color, which is very nice. Just, it looks beautiful. The artwork in this series, I don't think I talk about enough, but it is beautiful. So yeah, overall, Moon Knight, definitely a great series. If you aren't reading Moon Knight right now, you should probably go check out a couple of the issues. Don't worry, you don't really need to. It's not necessary that you read all of them, but I would say definitely check it out before you pick up Moon Knight number 7, which will be when the new creative team takes over. So, word to the wise. But overall, Moon Knight, very awesome series, definitely a buy. Okay, that's it for my comic books this week from Marvel. Make sure you check out my DC reviews. I should have an annotation added somewhere. But yeah, thank you again for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Check out my other video reviews. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.